This week we're delving into some of the nuances of training. Do different horses need to be led differently? Is a horse that runs back to the barn even trainable? What should you do if your horse walks off after mounting? And do we really need to ride in bits? Stay with us as Mark enlightens us with his training insights, which are always fascinating. Hello, welcome to Mark Langley's Horsemanship Podcast, a podcast helping people to understand their horses better, to provide solutions in a calm, connected way. I'm Jenny Langley, and with me is Mark Langley. Mark, I know you're training some horses at the moment. You're starting them under saddle. Do you find that any of your horses are walking off after you mount them? Is that something that happens generally when in the training process, or are you avoiding that right from the start?
Right from the start, I'm teaching horses to be present and follow a feel. So if the feel of the situation is standing, then they're standing. If the feel of the situation is moving, then they're moving. I don't get on horses that have their thoughts somewhere else, and I don't teach horses to. I don't teach them that I'm going to get on you while you're thinking over there. So basically, a horse that knows how to lead well will never ever have a problem standing quietly or going to a mounting block softly. So all these lessons, a lot of lessons aren't necessary if the horse can follow a feel or lead softly.
Okay, so this question is from Rose from the UK. She's got a 6-year-old mare that has just started to walk off after mounting before she's asked her to move, which is new. So she didn't used to do it. So Rose would like to know, what would you suggest that she do so that she can unravel this? Should she go back? Should she dismount and take her back to the mounting block to start again, for example?
So just go back, just teach your horse how to lead softly, a few steps forward, few steps back. Make sure your horse is soft and centered, so when you stop leading, the horse stops and stands quietly. The horse can lead past you softly, stand beside you softly, things like that. And basically when you're on the mounting block, just look at where your horse's thoughts are. If those thoughts start to leave as you put your foot in the stirrup to get on, then basically you have to interrupt your horse and say, that's not available. If your horse has some underlying nervous areas, then the leading by on both eyes, you're going to find holes and anxiety or worry about you being higher on a mounting block. So if it's worry causing the horse to leave, then you can sort of keep leading the horse around the mounting block softly on both eyes until it's walking very softly, it's calm, it's not looking tense, it's not wanting to yield the hip out because it wants to face up. And then you can fix the nervousness on the mounting block by leading it around the mounting block. And you go to the mounting block for a couple of days and don't even think about wanting to get on. Just put the halter on and just get your horse amazing at leading around you on the mounting block until you can stop, start, and it's comfortable on both eyes. And then next you're just going to, get on the mounting block and ask your horse to lead the saddle up and get on. And then if the horse starts to anticipate forward and leave, you should know as soon as you put your foot in the stirrup or even step up that that's starting to happen. So you just lift up a rein and say, let go of that thought. And then the horse will stand softly.
Look a little bit deeper at what your horse is thinking and where its mind is before you even get to that point of it moving off.
So all these lessons about, make them work away from the mounting block, all that sort of stuff, it's just methods that were created from some saying make the wrong thing difficult and the right thing easy. Instead of making away from the mounting block difficult when the horse walks away and then making the mounting block the place where the horse doesn't have to work, just making the wrong thing difficult is maybe when the horse starts to think forward, lift up the rein, create a feel that interrupts the horse. So that's making that thought difficult, because the horse goes, when I have that thought, a pressure comes in and interrupts that thought. So that's how simple make the wrong thing difficult and the right thing easy is. You create a bit of friction or feel to interrupt a thought, not go and make the horse work over there when it walks away and then make the mounting block the place of rest. That's not even addressing why the horse is walking away. That's just making your tools almost make it uncomfortable, which you don't want to do.
Why do you think she would start to walk away from the mounting block when she didn't used to?
It could be a habit, because you get on. The other thing also, which I probably forgot to mention, was don't get in the habit of getting on and riding off. Get on. Back in the old days when everyone used to smoke pipe tobacco and roll cigarettes, well, they'd have to sit up and roll a cigarette and put a couple in their pocket, and then so all the horses were quiet. Nowadays, with vaping and stuff, people are sort of sucking the vape as the horse is galloping off, and so back in the old days, rolling a couple of smokes while you sit on your horse and don't do anything for a bit was a good idea. So sit on your horse, get off, sit on your horse, back up a step it forward a step, get off. Just create a more present sort of pattern, not a pattern, I'm not good at patterns, but just do something a little bit different so you're not always getting on and riding off. So it could be the anticipation of, oh, she gets on me, then we should be right out the gate, and that's where we're going. So as I say, if it's an anxiety thing, that she's frightened and the obedience is starting to undo and the fear's overriding, well, while you're on the mounting block, you can fix that with all the leading lessons that I just mentioned before. Right. Otherwise, do different habits. Don't always do the same thing.
Yeah, so maybe have a look at those lessons we've got online for you, Rose, just where Mark is doing the lessons at the mounting block, because there might be something that you might see that your mare's missing. Looking for holes, really, is the way to go forward. Okay, you mentioned leading, of course, in that. Go back to leading. Leading can sort of resolve things and bring back that establishment of the calm mindset as well. Carolyn from Australia, who has an off-the-track thoroughbred that you have been helping with through the podcast as well. She would like to know if you have to lead different horses differently, because this off-the-track thoroughbred is a little bit anxious, a little bit jumpy. Should she be doing the leading lessons differently because of that?
Yeah, there's so many ways. If it's just I'm going to sort of make it simple. If it's just you're walking somewhere and you're wanting your horse to lead softly, not leading out on a circle, not because leading can encompass like a body control and stuff like that. So what I have people say, I've been taught that I should lead my horse in this position near the shoulder. And I say, but your horse is not ready for that. Why not? Well, one, it doesn't have any idea of personal space. Two, every time its eyes are in front of your body, it's looking off into the distance thinking it's leading, so it's not ready for that. It's got to go through the process of learning, like a horse has to go and join a herd. It has to go through a process of walking into that herd with caution so it doesn't get kicked. So a lot of herds won't let a horse in until the horse is actually thoughtful. So when I get a thoroughbred at a clinic that's it's been taught at the track that, the people kind of drag it from beside it and kind of jag it all the time. I say, no, you can lead back behind me about 3 or 4 metres. People might say, well, that's submissive. You're making the horse just follow you and it's not going to soak in its environment. I said, but the first thing that horse needs to learn is awareness of me in my personal space and learn to follow me as a leader and be aware that it doesn't have to always look ahead and just have tunnel vision. So I'll teach them to sort of lead behind me, back, and I'll make my personal space big. The reason I make my personal space big for those horses is because the closer you are to a horse, the more in their space you are. So it's not just about your space, it's about their space. So for a nervous off-the-track thoroughbred, they have to learn to process the environment, and the only way a horse can process the environment successfully is in their own space, not in our space. So if the closer they are to us, the less they process the environment. So a lot of horses I might lead back 5 metres off me so they can go, oh, I'm on my own, but I'm still following the person. I've got to think about everything. I can't just kind of just follow them and miss it all. So that's one of the first things, and that creates a self-awareness, awareness of the environment, and an awareness of us. So that's the 3 things that leading back at a distance does. Then, when your horse is softer and understanding how to stop with the rope and it's becoming more responsible, then you can teach it to lead up a little closer, and then you can teach it to lead out in front as a soft leader, not just a worried off-the-track destinator. But they have to have earned that right. Not earned the right, they have to have gone through preschool to have a soft enough brain and an awareness of themselves and us to be able to lead out and actually process the environment but still know exactly where we are. So you can't, so the process of getting a horse to lead out in front of us a little bit is the process that we need to do to know that they're going to ride safely when we're behind their eyes. But to get to that point may take a little bit more time in different leading positions till the horse has the right skill set to get into a position to lead beside us at the shoulder a bit or out in front a little bit.
That makes sense. All right. Leslie from the USA would like to know, do you need to use a bit when a horse can collect and be soft with a bossel?
No, like if you're happy, there's something like riding, say for instance, going from a side pull to a snaffle. That's a good sort of, side pulls are a bit like riding in the snaffle bit. For a soft horse, there are certain little tiny things that you can feel in the reins when you twist a bit like this and do that you get a different sensation in the horse that I can find sometimes I can feel a bit more accuracy. But for them to be sensitive enough and soft enough to be that good in the snaffle that you can notice it between the side pull and the snaffle, they've got to be pretty well trained. And most people, if they've got their horse that well trained in the side pull, they're going to be happy staying in the side pull because it's good. They're going really well and soft. A bossel is another level again. It's sort of different than a snaffle and a side pull because the horse is at a stage where to be in a bossel it has to be pretty light and nearly at that sort of very, very, if you are riding two-handed, it's very subtle little kind of requests that you're doing with the reins and you're pretty well just at a one-handed stage. So the horse has to have its balance, has to have its collection and its turns established well, I think, before you ride in a bossel, because you can't just take your hand and pull it out wide. If you did that, you'd cause a fair bit of brace in your horse. So no, you don't need a bit. And if you're happy, with what you're doing, and I mean, if you can tie a bit of string around your horse's ear and it feels good and rides nice and soft, well, you don't need a bit. It's all personal, isn't it? But most of the people in bits, most of the horses I see in bits are doing a terrible job in a bit and they're troubled by the bit. If they got a chance to learn to be comfortable in the bit, then they'd be happy horses and you'd have happy riders. There's a lot of people who've done a bad job in bossels and side pulls. But
it would be easier to do a bad job in a bit than it would in a side pull.
Yeah, you can create more anxiety because you can easily create more pain, more clanging, more noise in the mouth, with the steel. You can bang a tooth, so I found over the years, a lot of horses that have come to my clinics, that people think I've done the magic thing by just taking the bit out and just put a side pull. Within 5 minutes in a side pull, the horse is going, I feel, then I go, my horse feels really nice in a side pull. And I said, yeah, because your horse has been troubled in the bit. But a horse that rides that's not troubled in the bit feels really nice in the bit. But it is easy to cause more trouble in the bit because of the sensitivity on it. Just the same as it's probably easier to cause on a young horse. I'm not saying bossels are bad, but on a young horse, if you gave someone who's just been riding in a side pull a bossel and put it on a horse, it's easier to cause more trouble in a bossel than a side pull because of the way it's set up. But if you understand the way it's set up and how set up your horse has to be to understand it, then you won't have any trouble.
I'm going to go on to the last question for this week, Mark, and it's a little bit of a longer question, but I think there's a lot in it, and it's really interesting one. I'm keen to hear your answer on it. It comes from Saskia in Holland. She says, first of all, I want to thank you for everything that you teach us. You're always so good at explaining. She now trains her own horses in your way, and it's given her a lot more insights, understanding them. She's still learning, of course, and she's looking at all the information. Now she won't train in any other way. So her question, though, that she's got, because she's training horses at her workplace, and she's not the only one that trains them. Other people are there as well, and she's only there for a limited amount of time each week. But she's got one particular horse who she'd like to know if she can help. He pulls very, very hard. People can't hold him, and he runs back to the stable. It sounds like he does it quite often, and he's extraordinarily strong. So it sounds like a bit of a disaster situation. She'd like to know, is it possible for her to train him? He has problems with the riding, he's not willing, and he gets anxious. Have you got any, obviously we can't tell her how to do it in this podcast, but in theory, can you help these horses that obviously just want to get back to the barn? Yeah,
if you're starting to understand the philosophy behind my training, you can help the horse. The best way to help the horse is not let it get to that stage in the first place. So first I'll say the reason why the horse is at that stage, that in Europe and everywhere around the world a lot, there's a very, very similar style of training, which is, push them to go forward, and it's quite a lot of containment on horses, and horse won't go through a gate, kick, whip, stick, kick, and a horse like that has probably been ridden in that fashion that it was nervous, but it got pushed through. But because it's quite a stoic, strong horse, it's suddenly just gone, nah, I need to go back to safety. So you've got a couple of types of horses. We got more, but you've got a couple of types of horses. You've got safety seekers and problem solvers. So even problem solvers can turn into one of those safety seekers. But there are a lot of horses that go in the herd. They go, I'm handing the problem over, and I'm just going to let the horse that investigates go and investigate. So you see it right from when they're babies, when you start them. So the safety seekers, they get troubled, they get worried about something, and instead of going, how do I process this, or they haven't had time to process it because as they slowed down because they were scared of the object that the rider wanted to ride them past, they slowed down, and the rider said, you're slowing down, you must move forward, you're being disrespectful, and they kick and whip to make them go forward because the horse slowed down and they wanted them to ride forward, but the horse was actually scared of the log or the gateway. So basically the horse got kicked and whipped when it was scared. So then if it was a safety seeker, so a safety seeker goes, log, I'm not going to process that. Where was my last place of safety? They notice the log, but as soon as they've noticed it, instead of going, I wonder what it is, I should investigate or sniff and wonder, they go, problem, where's safety? Straight away, without any investigation. So those horses very quickly become the ones that become barn sour. They call it barn sour, I think, in America and Europe, but yeah, there were different things like they just suck back to their mates or home. So then, because that scenario would have happened when they were young, push, 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 safety, safety, then they just go, boom, I'm going to safety. And that's what they learn. Every time they're nervous, the people grab onto them and say, you do this, until they've just sort of broken the shackles and run away. And that's what's happening in the lead rope. Now, if you look at a lot of training in Australia, Europe, around the world, we send a horse away from a lunge stick and then we hang on to them with the rope. If you look at my training that I'm trying to teach you, I'm trying to get your horse to search with the lead rope. And then when it goes out and searches, it comes back with the lead rope. But if you look at a lot of lunging, and you'll see it a lot all around the world, people are just stopping that horse from escaping with the long rope and moving the horse forward with the lunge stick. So all that rope ever does to that horse is say, don't leave, until the horse realises it's stronger than the person and it can leave. And that's what's happening as well. So if you look at a lot of scenarios in a lot of training, the rein and the lead rope is almost like a chain that keeps a dog chained up. And as soon as that chain is undone, the dog runs around. Okay, or runs away. And you look at a lot of owners with their horses, as soon as they unclip their horse off that lead, the horse just gallops off to their friends. If that's the scenario in a lot of horses, then you're going to get ones every now and again that break free from that. So the two areas you have to work on to fix this is, one, that rope it can't be broken. Okay, so if I had a horse like that, but I've had a lot of heavy horses on the end of a rope, I can set it up that the horse will not get away, but I will anchor myself at the right position at the right time, so I catch the horse, spin it round and then give it some space. If you know exactly when that horse is going to go pop and go, you set yourself up in a position on a longer rope where you can let it go off and you're on the side, and then just anchor it till it spins and then loosen up and just stand still like nothing happened. Okay, that's something you can do to possibly say that's not available. If that's too much for you, which it can be for people, you have to go back to good quality leading. And for a horse like that, it's going to be tough. But you've got to go back to saying this rope is a pathway, not a trap. Okay, it's a pathway. And you just got to go back to teaching that horse to lead again. And you've also got to teach it that watch closely when it's in areas that it's nervous. And if you know there's an area where it's nervous, watch closely what it does with its thoughts. If it automatically starts thinking about the stable or the barn or whatever, then you can interrupt that thought, bring its attention either back to you or just say interrupt that barn thought, and then take it away from that scary area. Don't bring it more into the scary area, because it's just going to go, well, you didn't listen to me, I'm just going to run anyway. So get close to any areas where you think that horse is going to snap and run, or before you get into that point, feel the first thought start to go. Ask your horse to let go of that thought, and when it lets go of that thought, centers, then do something completely different, something it didn't expect. Take it back in the direction that you were going, that you just come from, and then just stop with it for a bit, and then go somewhere else, leading it. As soon as you see that little bit of a thought start to go, I'm not sure here, I'm going to just interrupt the thought and go back in the direction you came from. Don't keep dragging it into because it knows you're going to keep forcing me in that direction, and it's learnt that if people keep forcing me, I'm going to run off. As soon as you see the concern, interrupt the concern, show the horse there's no need to be concerned, follow the lead rope in a completely new direction that the horse is kind of neutral with. And just keep repeating that until what will happen is that boundary or that bubble of scary area will get smaller and smaller. So it becomes like approach and retreat a little bit. You approach the scary area or the area where the horse starts to shut out, and then you reset it a little, take it somewhere else, even take it back towards the barn. Show your horse that you'll take it home, not it'll take itself home. And by you taking the horse back to the barn and then back out again, the horse knows you're not a horse abductor.
So when she's working at this particular place, and it sounds like it's a special farm for people that have mental health problems, there are other people that work these horses. It's not just her, but I'm thinking that she's the only one that's latched onto you. So sometimes they do liberty, they do lunging or riding. So that is also going to, if they're using the techniques that have led to the horse doing this, and then she comes in trying to fix it, somehow she needs to have a conversation with the bar manager to say, look, just let me work with him so I can change his mindset for a bit.
You can't have a 3-ring circus with a horse like that. And also, if you've got a horse that's got mental issues, as in it needs mental health issues, it shouldn't be a mental health support horse. It should be a horse that we're focused on its mental health, not mental health humans. So I would say a horse like that needs specific training to become a soft horse and feel good around people. You can't throw it in with people if it hasn't been fixed first. So it needs specific training to help it get into a good frame of mind. And if 3 different people, so the people, 2 of those people might be training it in a way that got it like that in the first place, that style of training made the horse like that. So you're trying to unravel that trouble in the horse, and then all they're doing is saying, don't trust people, we'll do what...
They're reinforcing
what used to happen. And also, and just, you can't just go, I know these places that have school horses and that, and they're just used as a bit of a slave sort of thing. You have to take a horse like that out of the program, otherwise you just never fix it, because, you can't say trust people one day and then the rest of the week the horse goes, that was a lie. Because they get more mistrust, because it's like, we'll help you, and then the next day we go, no, we're not. So it's very deceitful for the horse if you have 3 people training it with different ideas.
It's a difficult situation, Saskia. I hope you can manage to navigate your way through that. Mark is actually going to be in Europe in 2027, so let us know, anyone listening out there who's in Europe that would like Mark to come to them. We're open at this stage for different ideas, but one of the things he does do is demonstrations just in the evening. So, he could come to your barn if you've got a handful of horses, 4 or 5. He could do a demonstration for people, and it could be, it could be a clinic, it could be as simple as a demonstration. So just bear that in mind, because that's going to be in the planning stages, and this is the time really to get in touch with us. Saskia, that could be something that we could help you with if we get over to Holland. But yeah, good luck. These are great questions, and thank you for your time, Mark. It's great to hear that there are solutions out there for people. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Jenny. Thank you, everybody.
The accurate insights and solutions that Mark Langley gives are at the forefront of emotive horsemanship globally. You can learn them for yourself through his supportive online membership. Check it out with a 7-day free trial. marklangley.com